Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art, located in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is Tuesday, October 16th, 2018. And as I mentioned last week's video, we're going to do a follow-up and see how the sales did in Hong Kong earlier this month, the first week of the month. And I'm going to warn everybody right up front. There were some great results, and there were some pretty big failures, flops, and disasters. I'm just going to say it that way. Further indication of the markets constricting a bit, getting much more selective. Collectors who have been in it for a long time have sort of filled up their collections and are now cherry picking around for additional things. But I don't see indications of a lot of fresh money coming into the market, and a number of people are trying to get out of their collections. So it's creating a bit of a conundrum. And I think prices are going to remain pretty much flat for a while. At any rate, one of the things I wanted to mention was that we also uploaded the 3 sales coming up for this next month for November in London, the Christie's sale and the 2 Sotheby sales. Pretty interesting auctions. The St. George Street sale is particularly interesting if you don't have an endless wallet. There is there are a lot of nice sung pieces in there and early pieces, 10th century Tang wares, all that. You want to check it out. Good opportunities, I think, there. All right, and now on to this, the Spielman Catalog. It was Spielman Collection 2. It had a lot of nice things in it, and frankly, the sale tanked, okay? One of the things that did pretty well was the Ming lacquer tray that we looked at. We liked this a lot. I thought it was just beautiful. The quality was stupendous, and these don't turn up very often. And as you remember, we went through this. We looked at it in some detail. It's a Xuande mark and period piece, and it was estimated at $1.5 to $1.9 million dollars, or 12 to 15 million Hong Kong. And it went over estimate. It brought 16 million Hong Kong, and that was a very successful lot. All right. After that, there wasn't a lot to write home about. I hate to say, they had a lot of buy-ins. They had a lot of lower end transactions. You might remember we talked about this pair of Chinlung tapers, these Cloisonne pieces, and I even commented. I mean, they're imperial and they're very finely made, but I didn't find them very artistically interesting. And apparently nobody else did either, and they didn't sell. And the low estimate was $500,000 US. So it just indicates how, the market's getting pickier and pickier. And the other real surprise, though, which didn't sell, which shocked me, was this really nice Chinlung mark and period gilt clock. This was a really beautiful piece, but couldn't find a buyer at a little under $2 million. I asked, I'm guessing the reserve was somewhere around 1.8 or 9 million US. It didn't get any interest at that level, and was passed upon. So, and that was it. And the rest of the sale, there wasn't a lot to look back on with, as they say, undiluted delight. It was a pretty bad outcome for the collection. I think the buy-in rate was more than half, and the prices of things that did sell weren't all that inspiring. So there we go. All right, but now we're going to move on to the Jade sale, which had some nice highlights in it, including the cover lot. This was that beautiful roux-head scepter, beautifully done. They call it a catfish scepter, elegantly drawn, nice detail at the top, and it did around the head there. It did very well. It brought, let's see here, what the heck did that sell for? A lot, 3 million Hong Kong, which was the high estimate of the piece. Okay. So that was a very nice result for that. It was a beautiful color. Just had that, remember that tiny little amber inclusion on the stem, and back then when we all looked at it, we didn't think it would make much difference, and in the end it didn't. All right, didn't discourage anybody. That was a gem-like quality thing. And here are those beautiful pair of yellow jade bowls. I thought these were just stupendously beautiful. Just great shape, great condition. And they went just about to the top of their estimate at 7 million Hong Kong. They brought 6.7 million. But these were just beautiful. The color was great, and it shouldn't surprise anybody that they did well. It didn't take a genius to pick those out. They were just great. All right, and then on to this, the amber figure. I thought this was wonderful. The other ambers didn't do that well. Only a couple of the ambers in this hardstone and jade collection sold. This one did. We looked at it a few weeks ago, thought it was quite exceptional, and it ended up bringing 1.2 million Hong Kong, or just sort of in the mid-range of its estimates, right between 1 and 1.5 million was the estimate. But this was a pretty rare thing. This was a very rare thing, and they don't turn up often. So it brought, 150 or so thousand dollars roughly, which was a good result, I think. Very nice. And then on to that beautiful jade elephant group with the boys. That was with the vase, the archaic bronze form, vase on the back. The boy with the tender with the stick, and the terrific expression on the elephant's face. This was just a wonderful thing, I thought. And it did just fine. It ended up bringing 3.12 million Hong Kong. So what's that come out to? About divided by 13, 10, $300,000 or so. Just a beautiful piece of jade. Great piece of jade. The exchange rate right now is about 13 to 1 Hong Kong dollars to US dollars, if you at home want to do your own math on it. But that was a beautiful thing, and we all liked it a lot, and I'm glad that it found a new owner at a good price. And this sale overall did pretty well. This is one of the things that didn't sell, and we did question when we looked at it last time whether it would make it or not. It's a 19th century vase, but it wasn't marked. Very good quality, but had a pretty aggressive estimate, $319,000 to $510,000 US, or 2.5 to 4 million Hong Kong, depending on how you look at it. And it did not find a buyer at that price. I think that, we thought a few weeks ago that seemed like a bit of an overreach in today's market. Even if it had a Daoguan or Guangzhou or Jiajing mark, some mark on it, it probably would have gotten traction, but it just didn't. And that's the way it goes. And then, of course, you get onto this, the Yamanaka Reticulated Vase. And if you've missed it, it did sell. It did extremely well. It brought what was the final on this? $19,236,000. And it's important to remember that the other one sold in a brokered deal at an estimated 25 to 30 million in Hong Kong. That was the famous Bainbridge vase. Well, this was the Yamanaka vase. And again, we'll refresh everybody's memories by showing this is the one that had been exhibited by Yamanaka back in around 1906. And this was a beautiful vase. And the catalog is a real great read. If you haven't taken time to go through the catalog, you really ought to, because it gives you the chance to get some really good up-close looks at how these pieces were made. Any event, this did just fine, and has gone on to a new owner, and Sotheby should be pretty pleased with that. They should not be very pleased with this, though. This was that Falun Kai poppy bowl that they actually gave a whole catalog to. And this is something interesting. A lot of these single lot cataloged, privately lots, these special lots, about half of them haven't been getting off the ground lately. We had the 2 moon flasks back to back over in, the moon flasks had their own catalog over in London a few months ago, and there was a couple of bronzes that had catalogs that didn't get going, even one of them from a great Japanese collection. And this was another case. The estimate maybe was too high, or who knows? Maybe everybody that wants one has one by now. So that was the end. That didn't do very well, okay? But by far the most successful sale out of them all was this one, was the Zurich Whaley collection. This sale did stupendously well. And not a surprise. This man was, as I mentioned before, was a highly regarded collector, a generous patron of the arts, generous to his community. He was the head of the Hang Seng Bank, but had a stellar career and did a lot for everybody. He was a fine gentleman. And he lived to be very old. He lived to be in his 90s, but he helped found the Asia Society to share knowledge about Asian Chinese culture and to get Westerners to come in and they could learn about them, real cultural exchange stuff going on. And he was a great man, and his collection was stupendous. And we're going to hop right over here. This was one of the first pieces, was this massive blue and white scroll vase. Just a beautiful thing. It had a 3 to 5 million Hong Kong estimate, and it sold for twice its high estimate. All right. It was a beautiful vase, and it was a big vase, 27 inches tall, and quite unusual. and it blew away its own estimate by a mile. And then we get on to this. This was that other Jade Scepter, and it was estimated at 1.8 to 2.5 million, and it ended up going way above its own estimate, again above the estimate, 3.36 million Hong Kong. All right, and that was the one with the peaches. This was a beautiful thing. Had these, and it was a late 18th, early 19th century scepter. It was not marked, but the quality of the carving on this was just stupendous all the way down the handle. A very, very fine example. And then you have the bats flanking the peaches, all very auspicious, and it did quite fabulously well, as you can see. And then we'll slide along here to let me see here. Bum, bum, bum. Page 46 in the catalog, if you're following along at home, was that conical rose Ming Yongle period bowl. And this was beautiful. The decoration on this was great. The spacing of the decoration, the shape of the bowl was perfect. Had everything in it, and it came down through a series of very good collections. Had been handled by Blewitts. Hugh Moss had handled it at one point, the famed London dealer. And it was estimated at 3 to 4 million Hong Kong, and it ended up bringing, let's check here, 4.6 million. So again, above its high estimate, okay? And this is sort of the pattern for this entire sale. Everything did great, but power provenance and a collector with a stupendous eye for quality. This is the thing with this collection, was that everything he bought was the best of the best. He was extremely selective, and he worked with top dealers, and they helped him build this collection. And this was another piece. This was a Yongzheng lotus bouquet bowl with this superbly drawn lotus pattern in the center, and then within the cavetto, the coinciding decoration. But the spatial work of this was just great. And there was a wonderful shot of the back of it. For those of you that like to look at the backs of things, it was all there. And this wasn't a huge plate. It was only 8 inches in diameter, but it had belonged to Edward Chow at one point, which certainly doesn't hurt. So now you have 2 great provenances tied to this. And it was estimated at 1.5 to 2 million Hong Kong, and it ended up selling for 1.875. So just right at the top of it, right almost at its high estimate. All right, for an 8-inch Yongzheng dish, which is quite a price, okay? That was fairly aggressively estimated, and maybe somebody in the family really was hesitant to sell it. Who knows? But it did fine. And then you get on to this, the grapes pattern Yongle period Ming bowl. This was one of the things I liked in particular. And as I mentioned, this same pattern was adapted by the Turkish potters and used on early Iznik pottery, almost identical in appearance, except other than tonal differences. And the Turkish stuff wasn't made on porcelain. It was all, of course, made on pottery. But this came from a very good series of previous owners, and it was estimated at 6 to 8 million Hong Kong. And it did just fine. It brought 7.5 million, again, right at the top of its estimate, pretty much. But a rare example. And if you're looking at it and you're think to yourself, when was the last time you saw one of these come up on the market? It's been a long time. There haven't been one of these around that I've seen in years. So, of course, when things don't turn up very often or haven't been churned through the markets very often, when they do come up, they do just great. As did this iron red flask. There's a Qinlong period flask. Very unusual design. This particular form is highly unusual and was estimated at 2.5 to 3.5 million Hong Kong, and it brought in 21 million. Okay, so it went for, wasn't that something? 11 million 5, excuse me. The next lot went for 21 million. This went for 11.5 million and went for 3 times its high estimate, over 3 times, 3.5 times its high estimate. And it's because it was such a rare thing. And we talked last time about how well done the red is. As you know, copper red, these red, underglazed red decorations done like this are very tricky to do. So much can go wrong in the firing process with underglazed reds. And this thing is just about as perfect as you could hope for. And it brought 11 million Hong Kong, or roughly a little over $1 million. All right? Just a beautiful thing. And then we're going to slide over. This was the top lot of the day. This was that incredibly rare pair of Jiajing Market Period Rams cups. All right. And I just loved these. I like horses, and everybody knows I like horses and rams and goats and chickens. I like animals on porcelain. And I guess everybody loved these. These were estimated at 5 to 7 million Hong Kong. And they ended up bringing 21 million Hong Kong, or triple their estimate, or roughly $2.5–3 million for the pair. But they were beautifully done and extremely rare. And the quality of decoration, of course, was just absolutely outstanding. And there they go, okay? And that's the kind of thing that really gets collectors very excited. And there wasn't a huge amount of history on these, I don't think. Let me look. As far as provenance, look at that face. God, isn't that a great face? Hold on a minute. I hope those of you that came and looked, look at the look of the ram's face. I love that. All right. Anyway, it didn't have a big amount of provenance with it, so I'm not sure where these came from. I don't think it really says anywhere. Maybe it does. I don't remember. No, it doesn't. I didn't think so. Okay. And they did just great. All right. And now we're going to move on to page 114. If you've got your catalog there, hold on. Was the peach bloom glazed washer Market Period piece. This was really something, and I thought I had commented a few weeks ago when we looked at this. I said the estimate seems awfully low on this. It was estimated at $15,000 to $19,000. Yeah, it's a little thing, but the evenness of the color and everything, we talked about this and just thought it was just really beautiful, superb quality. And I make sure I got the estimate right on this. Yeah, it was $15,000 to $19,000. And I thought maybe it speculated maybe it's damaged and repaired or something, but I couldn't imagine this man owning anything that was restored. At any rate, it did great. It brought 12.7 million Hong Kong on an estimate of 120 to 150,000 Hong Kong. So it ended up selling for it brought 2.2 million Hong Kong, not 12. 2.2 million Hong Kong. So it ended up bringing $287,000 against an estimate of 15 to 19,000. So it went for 12 times its high estimate. But if you didn't take a minute to come and look at this piece, it's just unbelievably pretty. The glaze on it was just about as good as they get, I thought anyway. All right. And then, excuse me, I'm working off of I have notes here because nobody actually thinks I can remember all these numbers, I hope. Is over here. This was that very nice Yongle flask with the radiating flowers on it. Very beautiful. This had sold at Sotheby's back in the 70s, 1978. And it was estimated at 7 to 9 million Hong Kong, which is, roughly 900,000 to 8 to 900,000, somewhere around there. And in the end, it did fabulously well. It brought 12.7 million Hong Kong, all right, or roughly $1.2 million, all right. So it went well past its high estimate, and is now going into some great new collection, I'm sure. But it was a very good example and beautifully potted in that nice soft glaze. That soft glaze, creamy white, beautiful decoration, and just a great thing. And then we're going to slate in. There's just a couple more here to go through, two, I think. And there's this. Oh yeah, the dish. This Xuande Market Period plate. Again, a small plate, 11 inches or so, but absolutely superb quality. Again, it was the hallmark of everything in this collection. Just perfect, beautiful pieces. And this one was estimated at 5 to 7 million Hong Kong, and it ended up bringing overestimate again, 8.2 million. All right, and this was the trend for the sale. And I know a lot of people are never going to spend this kind of money on things, but coming to look at these things is really an education. Come to the catalogs, go through them, and really tune your eye, because it might help you from buying a fake, and two, it'll really give you a deep understanding of how good these porcelain makers were 600 years ago, 500, 700 years ago. Just fantastic. And then the last thing on here was the Yongzheng piece. was that beautiful, I thought it was pretty sublime, this blue and white vase, Yongzheng Marken period, just absolutely elegant, perfect use of negative space around it. And then the combination of upper and lower patterns framing it, very complementary. The proportions of the neck, the way the sides, just absolutely perfectly taper in. The potting on this was as good as the decoration. And this wasn't a big vase. This vase was only 9 inches tall, though it looks like it could be bigger. It looks like, maybe it could be 15 inches. It's not. It's a fairly small vase. And it did great. It brought 9.7 million Hong Kong. So it went 3 million, almost 4 million Hong Kong dollars over its high estimate. So it ended up selling just shy of $1 million. All right, but what a beautiful example that was, huh? Gosh. At any rate, that's it for now, and we'll get into we'll do a quick video in a few days on the upcoming sales here. There's some nice things. This is the Christie's catalog. Come over to the site and take a look at it. There it is. They have a moon flask again. A lot of moon flasks in the market in the last year, which is kind of surprising. This is a pretty good one. We'll check out the estimates and talk about it and see how it does. All right. Hope you enjoyed this, and if you're not a subscriber yet on YouTube, please do. Please give us a thumbs up. Appreciate them very much. Help us push up our little rankings over here. And come over to Bidamount.com and subscribe, and you get on our mailing list and take part in our little community. And thanks so much for taking the time to watch. All righty, and have a great week, and we'll see you later on when we do the next one. All right, we do a regular video on Friday, in case you didn't know. All right, bye-bye, everyone.